YouTube, sick of looking at this guitar yet? This is part 4 of the video series. Part 1 being the guitar safari when I went and got it. Part 2, the live stream when I was playing it. And part 3 and 4 were me putting it back to original because it came with a different bridge, a different pickup, a Fender bridge pickup, and a Seymour Duncan JBJ in the neck position and chrome knobs. But as soon as I saw the guitar, it was like, oh, it doesn't have the knobs on it. But the guy had a poly bag with all the bits in it, a poly bag with a hole in it, so I didn't get all the bits. I got the important bits, so I've got the original bridge back on it, and the original Maxon pickups, which date code to 1974, so pretty much all original, apart from the odd screw and one of the pots, because it had a push-pull pot in it, which is no longer there. It was also rewired funny, so I've now got volume, tone the way it was originally meant to be. This is a 2352 custom, is the model number if you look up the 1974 Ibanez catalogue, and it only came in black. So the brand is CSL, which is Charles Summerfield Limited importers. But you could, if you look up my other videos, I think I put the video in the corner, I might put it up there if I can remember, of a Ibanez Silver series, which is basically the same guitar, apart from I think it was a wee bit later because it didn't have this truss rod cover, which is very distinctive and kind of odd looking. The Ibanez Silver series had a bullet truss rod, which makes me think it might have been a wee bit after that. It was maybe a 77, 78, something like that, when started putting the bullet truss rod in. I do prefer the bullet truss rod. So I'm going to start off by playing some sounds out. So we've got the original bridge pickup. And then we've got the wide range pickup. Well, I don't know if it's wide, I'm not really sure exactly what it is, but it doesn't sound like a normal humbucker. Let's turn the volume up, 2 volume controls. I'm playing through the Orange TH30, I've got a reverb pedal on, nothing else, in at the clean channel. So to me, it doesn't sound like a normal humbucker. Certainly the one that was in it was a Seymour Duncan JBJ, which is kind of like a normal humbucker. This is kind of, I feel it's a bit more Gretschy or something like that, but it's not quiet. Gretsch pickups are quite low output. This is loud, but it's got that definition thing where it kind of is like a jazz, or maybe a mini humbucker or something like that, you know, something in the middle. Quite fat as well. And both on. I need to adjust these pickups to make them exactly so that you get the best out of both at the same time. I just need a wee bit less in the... There. So I need to raise this up just a tad. Right. Joyo US Dream distortion pedal. Something wrong with my backing track, not in key. Yeah. So the plan was that I was going to play it a wee bit at the start of the video rather than just talk. So I've got a couple of this era of guitar now. I've got the Tempest there, which is another one from the Ibanez catalogue. So basically these are made by Fujigen, and at the time Ibanez didn't actually make guitars, they just ordered them in and branded them, which is the same as what these do. So you see these advertised as, a rebranded. It's not really rebranded, this was never an Ibanez, this was just bought from the same factory as the Ibanez model. But if you actually look in the Ibanez catalogue, none of these guitars say Ibanez on the headstock. So I think this is basically, if you look up just Ibanez 74 catalogue, it'll come up and it'll just show you all the guitars they were building, or all the guitars that Fujigen were building at the time, just with a serial, with a number. So this is a 2352. Interestingly, the custom. This is the custom, the deluxe, which is the one with the 2 wide range humbuckers you can see next to it. Is also a 2352, but it's a 2352 DX, whereas this is in this catalogue a custom, but I think it's CT for custom in the next one. And the other guitar I've got from this era is an Antoria, which is also the same model number, but it's like more like a normal tele. It's a bit different. I will obviously have to compare them and play them at the same time. It needs to be fretted though, annoyingly. Yeah, so this is your classic termed lawsuit era, because it really is an incredibly accurate copy of the Fender 1972 custom or whatever it is, Keith Richards one, also Noddy from Slade. I think his one, Noddy's one's a bit different. I think this might be a John Birch. I don't know if it's actually a Fender. So things that are different between this and a Fender one, this has got a 3-piece laminate neck, first strand with a separate fingerboard. The truss has got a funny looking truss rod cover. The tuners are original, which they look like the modern cheapy ones, but they're not. They're fine. They work perfectly. Not going to bother changing them. Also, it's got a 4-piece neck, 4-bolt neck on it, which by this point is it the CBS era of Fender had the 3-bolt. What is it Scott calls it? The Shugley neck. I've never played one with a 3-bolt neck, but people didn't like them. I believe part of it was to do with, although I don't, looking at it, I think they had a truss tilt, a neck tilt angle thing on them, which is probably why it had 3 bolts rather than, which I've read before, is like, oh, we're just trying to save, 3 bolts is cheaper than 4 bolts, so if we do 1,000 guitars and we manage to save 50 pence or 20 pence on each one, then you multiply that by 1,000, it becomes a worthy amount of money. But I don't know how true that is. I can't see how neck bolts really count would really count for that. So this, kind of like the Tempest Strat in the corner there, it feels like an old guitar. these things had to survive the like the 80s and the 90s when people were wanting more modern rock tones. So when the pickups in this were upgraded in 1989, I found out some more information about this. In 1989, Jimmy Moon upgraded these pickups, and we've had to replace the bridge as well, which I didn't. Because I was like, the pickups, but the bridge is different. Is because see, if you look at this pickup actually goes in backwards compared to a Fender one. You know, normally the two's held in with 3 screws. Normally it's 2 screws here and 1 on this side. On this one it's 2 and 1. Also, it's got a different string spacing, which I should probably measure while I'm here. Because the bridge had to be replaced because it didn't take the Fender pickup. Also, the saddles that must have come in the other bridge must have been too wide spaced. So if we look at this, we're kicking about at 52 millimeters. So it's a 52 mil string spacing, and if I compare that to this, it's going to be the same, isn't it? 54 mil on the FGN there, which I think is more normal. So it's only 2 millimeters, but 2 millimeters splays your strings a little bit here. You might find it was running off the edge of the fingerboard, so that was why it had the original saddles in it, but not the original bridge. Also, it kind of looked a bit funny. You saw me going like that. Why is there gaps between the saddles? You know, there isn't now. Yeah, so this was bought. I've got a text message to the guy who sold it. He bought it in 1980. Oh god, I can't remember what it said. 1985 from Southside Music in Glasgow for 55 quid. And I did a wee bit of inflation calculator, just because you can, the internet. So 55 in 1985 was 210 quid. So the equivalent of 210 quid, bit of a bargain to be honest. And then he paid 120 quid in 1989 for the pickups and the work done to it. I'd imagine it probably gets set up and stuff done then as well. And if you actually put that into the calculator for 1989, what's 110, 20 quid, it's 380 quid. So actually, grand total's like £600. This cost in modern days, which I suppose I don't think, maybe it is worth 600 quid. It should be. I'm not arguing that. I mean, I've played, plenty of guitars worth that amount of money that aren't anything like as good as this. Plus, 49 years old. I'm going to start saying 50 years soon. But that's an old guitar, and it does have that aura of oldness. But I mean, like, as I said, with this and the Tempest and actually the Squier, my first Squier Bullet, it's got a different sound. It sounds different than a modern guitar does. I think modern guitars, because people are used to like a bit more range in them, you find that it's maybe a bit more useful. It does more things, whereas this does what it does, but it does what it does really well. But if you're wanting to do this a bit more metal or something like that, it's not really what this guitar's for, No, I'm really enjoying it. This was not a planned guitar. I'm not really that much of a fan of black guitars, although part of that is because I'm doing it now. I'm wearing a black t-shirt so you can't see it, but I really need to stop. I keep doing this, keep putting my foot on this settee, like for rocking, standing with my foot on the monitor type things. But so it's got a 12-inch radius on the fingerboard, which I'd imagine the Fender's probably 7 1/4, so it's got like quite a flat Gibson-y type fingerboard. The neck's very thin, unlike a Tele. It's much more a Strat neck, feel dimension wise, like a C profile. And unbelievable condition. I mean, there is literally no marks on the neck whatsoever. Normally maple necks you see, like, they sort of starts to go a wee bit bald because of the lacquer on the fretboard. Not at all. There's a few wee scuffs and scrapes, a few that have been painted in with a black black paint at some point round the edges, but I mean, no actual bashes or dents, just 50 years of oldness. But an incredibly comfortable guitar to play. There's also something funny going on here. See, if you look at that bit there, when you're playing it, it's not very Fendery. I don't know what it is. It's very square. This bit obviously doesn't affect anything, just it looks slightly odd compared to what I'm used to. I can't really put my finger on exactly what it is, but there's something there. I think the nut might even be original as well. I mean, it's set up and playing really well. It's got really small frets, really small and really low frets, vintage style. Actually, I wonder if Guitar have got one. When I was looking it up, I noticed that Andertons you can actually buy this guitar currently. It's £2,000 for a reissue of it. So I want like a proper Fender one. So I'm just wondering how close to that one it is, or even how close it is to an original Fender. One of those things that whenever you see Fenders that look like this from the 70s, everyone always just goes on about how heavy they are. I've got a Music Master bass that's made of solid lead and then coated in black plastic like this. This, which actually weighed during the live stream, is actually 3.5 kilos, which is exactly average. I go for my range is 3 kilograms. Oh, that's a light guitar. 4 kilograms. Oh, that's heavy. 3.5. That's just to the point of not really noticing whether it's heavy or light. Just distinctly average, which is good. So I actually did a video of this last night, but I wasn't happy with it. Also, I've since found out when it was bought. So 85. So one owner since 1985. I was 7. But it's got that thing where you can get an aged guitar. I played an £8,000 Les Paul that was meant to be, it was aged to make it look like a 50s one, and you can tell. Sorry, see when something's artificially aged, it doesn't look like just old. I mean, most of my guitars are kind of getting on that way. I'll keep pointing at that one. Apart from, well, actually 3 of them are quite relatively modern, but most of my guitars are from the early 80s sort of thing. So they're, coming up for 40 years old anyway. But the wood changes colour, and you can fake it by rubbing it with tea or whatever it is they do, but it doesn't do that. Especially if the white plastic bits on that Les Paul, it kind of the binding on it it looks very artificial, not like what binding does on the guitars I've got. Where it was white or cream and then now it's creamer. So I got the impression the guy didn't really like this guitar, never really played it. It was that whole thing. I think it was probably, so I should really get a Telecaster. So he bought a Telecaster. Probably what would be the equivalent of a decent Squire at the time, especially to get an actual telly. I was paying the equivalent of £200 for it. It's like, so you're looking at a sort of a really good used Squire type thing was the only option. You didn't, because Squire and that didn't exist. But you're getting one that's actually remarkably close, and I think this is when, for Fujigen, or whether it was actually Ibanez, we're kind of taking the piss a little bit with the copy thing, as in, here's a copy that's, you might like it better than the actual Fender one. To be honest, I love the price an awful lot more of this than I do of a Fender. Paying between 3 and 5 grand they seem to go for, and they all seem to be knackered. You've got all the age, which is the hard bit to do. Even when it get put in with it, I must have done a video. Did I put up that video of the one where I basically fixed up so it worked? I think I might have a video I've not actually put out, unless it's in the Guitar Safari one, when it still had the original pickups in it, or not, when it still had the pickups that were fitted in 1989 to it, which is a Fender one and a Seymour Duncan, and it was. To be honest, the bridge pickup didn't sound that different. To me, the bridge pickup was really thin. Or not really thin, but really brash and punchy and really telecastery. So that is the quintessential Telecaster bridge pickup sound. I'm going to have to put this up against like the FGN, which is the same factory as this, but built 45 years later. To see how the two of them stack up, actually, because it doesn't sound as telly-ish as this, but that's what I was saying there, a bit more, having a bit more range, a bit more in the middle type sounding guitars, modern ones, so you can do anything with it, rather than, oh, you've got a tele bridge pickup, you want the tele bridge pickup sound. Oh, can I get a wee bit more? No! You can have the tele bridge pickup sound. You can't have, oh, I was thinking of putting a wee bit of Judas Priest on it. Okay, you can play Judas Priest on it with a tele bridge pickup sound. You can't, it's not going to do guts. But I do need to play this a bit, a lot more. I noticed that one of the things I noticed last night when I was doing a video, I did like a half-hour jamming it video. It started off pretty good. I mean, I first went round and tried the guitar. It's one of those ones you pick up, and I didn't even say I was buying it. I just said, "Can I try it?" And you just go, "Yep, I love that." One of them, but it's coming to life. It's this. I don't think this has been played in any sense really since probably the guy bought it. Imagine he bought it, was never really that happy with it, waited a few years and then upgraded it, and then probably wasn't that happy with it after. It certainly doesn't have years of gigs on it. It's got years of being in a case or being looked at, or maybe you're strummed about. But I mean, this is kind of what I want. I don't want guitars to sound the same. I've got too many guitars. There's no point. I mean, you obviously want versatility. You can get the Paul Gilbert, they can do pretty much anything, but they're not as good as doing this sound. So I'm quite happy just having one that sounds different. Whether I can use it in lots of different situations, don't know. Don't really care. That's not the point. But there's a lot of people that like to have the same sound in all their guitars, which is fine. It's just different from me. A few of my pals are like, it's up here, oh, the Seymour Duncan JB or something. Oh, that's my favourite pickup. I'll put that on all my guitars. And you're like, well, I don't want all my guitars to sound the same. If I want, why would I have? If the two guitars were going to sound the same, why have two guitars? I want them to sound different. And this neck pickup, I don't have any pickups that sound like this. I'm not even sure it sounds exactly like a neck pickup. It's got a bridgeness to it. And both on that. But it's so easy to play. It just felt immediately familiar to me. I bet actually have exactly the same neck profile as that Tempest. Maybe that's why, and a similar age and all that. Maybe actually the same neck. In fact, there's a fair chance it's exactly the same neck, but with a tele type, but it's been cut to a tele headstock rather than a Strat headstock, which is maybe why it feels so familiar. But what a tone! I kind of now want the custom one now as well, so I've got the full set. Well, there's thin lines there as well. I don't know. Well, they might be a bit more expensive, but these are the sort of guitars that you can't find. I tried looking up CSL guitars, they don't even show up. I have seen a CSL before. It was a Les Paul recording model, and I'm aware of they also did a Strat model, which was had like a headstock like an Ibanez Blazer, but it's a Strat body. Just because they're buying from the same factory, and it's some English company, a London shop or something like that, importing them and then distributing them amongst all the guitar shops in town. Scott remembers seeing these in, was it McCormick's, at the same time as the Fender ones. I don't know what the price difference was on them. I think the price difference was ridiculous. I think it was maybe a quarter of the price or the fifth of the price of the Fender one. When you really start noticing that Japanese guitars were starting to get big for their boots, they started realising that they were able to do as good as the Americans, really. Build quality is just, it's over the top. I went on about this all the time in the last two videos. So I was talking about, just things like taking out the screws and stuff like that, and they're all fine. All the screws turn, everything comes to bits. It's totally rock solid. The neck pocket's just absolutely just perfectly in. No, I wonder, I've not actually even taken the neck off that. There might be something in it. I might do the old setting the body. It seems to be vibrating quite nicely, but if you undo the neck bolts a wee bit, sometimes you can hear it move. Let's see if it does it actually. Do a wee bit of live surgery. So what you do is, if you just when it's strung up, if you just undo these bolts. I'll not bother undoing those bolts. I was having to put an awful lot of pressure on that. I'll just assume it's fine. I'll end. I've got now that I've sowed the seed in my head though. I will do that. I will end up pocketing it. But I mean, it seems just. I think it just suits in very well for what I'm using it for. I wonder if it's something to do with the valve amp thing, because valve amps were the thing in the 60s, and then when the 70s came in, valves became a bit valves, old-fashioned, go on fire, not very powerful, so everyone went to solid state because it was better. I wonder if maybe that's where these pickups would maybe fall to bits if you're playing through a solid state amp, or like, most gigging amps back then, your H&H's and Carlsbros and stuff like that. That's what people actually played pubs with. Very few people could actually afford. Obviously, Judas Priest and Black Sabbath and stuff could afford expensive amps, but the one for the actual gigging, it's not like it is today where you can basically go and buy something like that with Orange or something for a few £100 and you've got like a proper gigging valve amp. I don't think that was really an option then. Or it was an option, but they were bloody expensive. That's or something like that. I mean, even that was not a cheap amp in its day. That's a solid stator from the early 90s. I'm just loving it. Maybe I think it's just a valve amp. Absolutely, this sort of pickup is just pure. Hey, here we go! What a wee bit of distortion. I think if you use, if you're trying to plug it in a Messer rectifier or something like that, try to play Slayer, probably going to go no. But for the kind of thing I want to play, whoa, exactly. I just love the way it can distort, and it's that's me using that US Dream pedal. I've got my rat pedal. It's still, you can still hear all the notes dead clearly. Actually, the reason I didn't do a video last night is because I didn't have the amp. I had to turn the amp down. It didn't sound as good, so now I'll get the amp up a little bit. Damn, I'm not going to do this video again, but that's what it should sound like with at normal volume. I can see why people wouldn't like that. Tons of character in the pickups. Again, maybe people, if you're after a very specific sound, maybe these aren't tailorable to that sound, but if you just want something, this is the sound I want. I really hope this is coming through in the video. I don't know. I mean, YouTube does its own compression thing, so it doesn't sound as good as it does in the room, but this is just absolutely glorious. Rocking. So tomorrow you'll probably not have to see this guitar again. It'll be on my wall. I'll do something else though. Going over to Jen's to build some a pergola so she can spray paint during the winter outdoors. I think this is the perfect time for me to have found this. I was actually saying a couple of weeks ago I was working on a Squire Strat, just a red, Hank Marvin, red, white scratch plate. And I found it quite refreshing because I'm so used to looking at mental coloured guitars, like all the J-Pax ones you can't really see. But, you know, it's like, the ones that just look absolutely fantastic and it's like you can just look at them forever and it's like just a black one. So maybe there is something in black guitars. I don't think these are the original. I think this has had strap locks on it at some point. I'll see if I can find some more original, bigger pots. So I don't like strap locks. The thing that annoys me about strap locks is you get this big block that sits on the bottom here, and then when you try and lean it against the wall, it's kind of like that. And I quite often lean it against the amp, and it's like I don't want a big thing sticking out here, which makes it pivoty. I don't like I try not to leave guitars sit there because a couple of times I've like, you know, you walk past and your foot gets caught under the lead and you kick the thing across the room. Oh no. I don't want to put dents in a guitar that's 50 years old, doesn't have any dents in it. It's a wee bit like, I was saying there about the sound, it's a wee bit like that Yamaha I keep talking about, the one that makes me want to play chords because you can hear all the notes in them. It's got a bit of that in it. Like playing all the strings and stuff because it's got a lovely timbre. I just want to play D and A. So I'll reverse my opinion on the Telecustoms from forever. So it was always very much a case of Telecaster has to have bridge with a pickup in it and the metal control plate. This one doesn't have the metal control plate. The two volumes and the two controls I'm actually get used to quite quickly because I suppose it's a bit like my SG or a Les Paul. The toggle switch there. I'm used to that from other guitars. A real instrument, this. Yeah, so if you find yourself An Ibanez, you'll pay an awful lot of money for an Ibanez one. I think you're probably up at £1,000 or something for the Ibanez version of this. But it's the same guitar, same factory. Anyone get one of these in another make? I remember seeing a post on my Antoria, which is the same model number telly, but it's a wee bit different. It's got like an odd shaped bridge, and it's got the metal control panels. Got things on it. It's not as much of a copy. I think it was maybe a copy of a telly that was taken from a photo of someone playing a telly, whereas I think this one they were getting a wee bit. The Japanese were getting a little bit smart with it, and they actually borrowed an actual telly and copied it they did some good photos rather than one photo taken from a slight angle where everything's not quite right. So it's always the same colour as well. This one comes in black. The deluxe comes in brown birch top, apparently birch with a mahogany base. And the Antoria one comes in a sort of creamy yellow colour, and they only come in those colours. There's no. So this one's always black. The Antoria one is always creamy. And I saw a post on one of the Japanese Facebook places, and I think it was 6 people, guys, I've got this guitar, they bought it, there's no brand in the headstock, I don't know what it is, and there was 5 other ones that came up with from all over the world with different brands on them. None of them being rebranded, just other people bought these guitars as well. Places that didn't have an Ibanez dealer. So I was like, there's Antoria. I can't even remember. There'll be a CSL one as well. Possibly a Rose Morris. There's Morris. Depending on your region, you can probably get this guitar from your region with whatever it is you are with a different brand on it. Probably just look up Lawsuit. But Fender were right to be pissed off. Fender and Gibson weren't particularly good in the 70s. They let the bean counters in, but they were just trying to make as much money as possible rather than trying to make good guitars. And the Japanese were like, pure, right, we're not bothered about making that much money on them. We'll just put out the best guitar you can get. I think in the video for the Ibanez one, I was just claiming it was better than a Fender. Now that I own it, well, I'm not as proud. I'm not claiming that my guitar, because that wasn't my guitar, and I said it was better. But now that it's mine, it's like, well, maybe not. I need to try one. I need to try a proper Fender one, $5,000, and I can tell you right now, it's not going to be worth the difference. But that's, the law of diminishing returns, isn't it? It's worth more money because it's worth more money, not because it's better. 40 minutes. Sorry. Rock on. Catch you later.